May the 21st, 2020. The time is 6 p.m. We are virtually meeting for the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission Board for the City of South Fulton. This is an 8-member board appointed by the City of South Fulton's Mayor and Council to hold public hearings and make recommendations on rezonings, use permits, and concurrent variance applications, comprehensive land use plan map, and amendments to the zoning resolutions. The Planning Commission's recommendations will be forwarded to the City of South Fulton's Mayor and Council for final disposition on the 4th Tuesday of next month. Could I ask for a roll call of the participants of the Planning Commission, please?
Harold Reed.
Present.
Rodney Hadley. Janine Brown.
Present.
Shannon Jones. Janai Walters.
Present.
Rachel Williams.
Present.
Shatikwa Floyd.
Present.
Tamika Weatherly.
Present.
I take it we do have a quorum, correct?
We do.
Okay. First matter of business would be the minutes from our last meeting. I see Alson Jones has joined us. Welcome, Reverend Jones.
Good evening. Good evening, Harold. Good evening, everyone.
Did everyone get an opportunity to review the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes. Yes.
There was only one revision that I know of that was submitted. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did anyone else have any proposed revisions to those minutes? Hearing none, can I get a motion on those minutes?
A motion to accept and approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting on Tuesday, February 18th of 2020 at 6:30 p.m.
Can I get a second?
Second that.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we accept the minutes as corrected. Any question? Can we get a voice vote? Marissa, were you going to call for that?
Yeah, I can if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Okay. Harold Reed.
Agreed.
Rodney Hadley.
Agreed.
Janine Brown.
Agreed.
Reverend Shannon Jones.
Agreed.
Janai Walters.
I think she dropped.
Yeah, she dropped off right now.
Okay. Rachel Williams.
Agree.
Shatikwa Floyd.
Agreed.
Tamika Weatherly.
So I wasn't present at that meeting. Am I able to agree or disagree or just be kind of nil?
No, you can pass.
Okay, I'll pass. Thank you.
All right, that was unanimous. So the minutes are approved as submitted. We're now going into a presentation on the proposed zoning rewrite. I believe we're going to begin with the presentation for Ms. Inga Kennedy.
Sir Chairman,
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
can we go into public comment?
Public comment.
Yes. 10 minutes allowed for public comment.
Okay,
Commissioner Reed, before we do that, can someone see if Janai is in the waiting room?
She's not.
James, could you check to see if Janai is in the waiting room?
She's not currently in the waiting room.
If she should come back, would you please add her as soon as possible?
Of course, sir.
Okay. Okay, at the suggestion of Mr. Gray, we shall go into a public comment section.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good to see everyone this evening. Let me start by saying that during our open house meeting and prior to the meeting, we encouraged the public to submit comments through our dedicated email address that we have used for this project and throughout this project. We also encouraged them to continue submitting comments. And the comments that I'll read tonight to you, or questions and comments, are those comments and questions that have come in post our open house meeting. During our open house meeting, there were comments that were submitted and we addressed those as we went through the evening, but we've received a few comments since that time, and we'll read those. The other point that I want to make is that simultaneous to the public engagement for the zoning rewrite process has been the Southern Fulton Comprehensive Transportation Plan process. I have been involved in both of those activities, and we've had virtual meetings for that as well. We've had some comments to come in from our residents from the city of South Fulton that address both of those into our zoning email. So I am not going to read the transportation comments and questions during tonight's meeting, but I do want to assure everyone that the Southern Fulton Comprehensive Transportation Plan team will receive all of the transportation comments and questions that have come in and that may continue to come in. And once again, we still encourage the public to send in comments tonight regarding the zoning rewrite. So are there any questions before I begin? Okay, all right, then we do have a first comment that has come in tonight, and it says, and this is from Michelle McCauley, and it says, "Good evening, Planning Commission members and City of South Fulton staff. My name is Michelle McCauley with LaCroix Engineering. Our offices are located at 3475 Corporate Way in Duluth, Georgia. I am here not as a resident, but as a member of the development community that is planning for, building, and bringing new communities and residents to your city. I appreciate all of the time and care that has gone into the proposed zoning rewrite document. As someone who has a lot of experience with zoning documents in Georgia, and specifically the city of South Fulton, I understand how important opportunities like this are. Ordinances once adopted are hard to amend, and the opportunity to address the entire document as a whole is rare. I ask that the city of South Fulton carefully weigh the importance of this document and not rush to adopt it without giving you, the members of the Planning Commission, and the public the opportunity to review and comment properly. The rewrite document was posted for the first time today for the public to review, and according to the posted schedule, will only come before you once tonight. As an appointed board, you are charged with overseeing the planning and zoning actions of the city, and your approval and commitment to this document is crucial. I have only had the chance to give the document a preliminary review, and my preliminary comments and questions will far exceed the 10 minutes given to public comment tonight. I respectfully ask that the public be given the opportunity to review the document and comment, and that the rewrite document come back before the Planning Commission before moving the document to the City Council. Thank you, Michelle McCauley. That is our first comment that has come in for the evening. We have a second. And this has come in from Mr. Alvin Reynolds, who is a chief engineer with Weston Atlanta Airport. And the question is, Why are variance restrictions being relaxed within the old National District overlay and not throughout the city? This would take this area down a developmental nightmare. Are any of you aware that on either side of the old National Corridor, residential districts only sits about 500 feet from businesses? Those are the two comments that have come in tonight. I'm going to, there are other comments from these same two commenters as I go through, and we'll move forward. This comment and these comments and questions are from Glenda Collins with the Fellwood Community Action Association. And Ms. Collins is one of those participants who attended both the open house meeting for the zoning rewrite, as well as one of our virtual meetings for the Southern Fulton CTP. And she has all of her questions and comments together. I'm going to address those that are related to zoning. And Ms. Collins, if you're listening, and as I told you before, we will make sure that the traffic and transportation issues are addressed with that particular study. Her first zoning question is, did not hear that traffic studies were included in the rewrite of the zoning when permits are issued for new construction. Traffic is a vital issue in the city of South Fulton due to the neglect from Fulton County and DOT. And her next, the next zoning question or the next zoning comment is the current truck restriction should remain in place because the truck traffic damages the residential streets and create pollution in District 5. A clean environment is vital to our health and longevity in District 5 and the whole COSF. And she's referring to the City of South Fulton's truck ordinance, which is related to some of the zoning actions as well. The next comment and question, the issues of contractors or developers removing turning lanes for new construction was not addressed. So if the zoning is a rewrite, should these situations be addressed because the flow of traffic will affect the community? When will the COSF and the DOT address the issue of traffic lights? And again, that is a question, half of it is posed and will be posed to the CTP team for the Comprehensive Transportation team. And that is the last of her questions for this one, but she has also, and she also submitted a couple of other questions. And since we're addressing Glenda Collins's questions, we're going to go ahead and stay with hers. She's submitted some additional ones. One thing that concerns me, though, is using the zoning code to limit the uses that are usual and customary in retail developments. As you know, entire categories of what was sold in shopping centers have been wiped out by the internet. Now centers are focused on leasing small shop space to personal services, including nail salons, barbershops, beauty parlors, etc., physical fitness, food, both dining and takeout, medical uses, and service uses such as phone stores, shipping stores. I am concerned that the entire first category of this list is proposed to be subject to special use approval. And then she says, thanks for the opportunity to comment, and we do appreciate everyone who is sending in comments. This seems to me to be starting down a path toward needing to secure approval for all uses. I think that this is a dangerous precedent to set. And she is referring to the Sandtown overlay. I appreciate all the thought and good work that went into the proposed changes. I have no problem if the code wants to set out blanket prohibitions on truly objectionable uses. Check cashing, pawn shops, extended stay hotels, all are things I agree we do not want in our community. However, I do not believe that nail salons, barbers, etc. should be subject to this review if the concern is proliferation of this group of uses. Then address that with radius clauses that can be ascertained or some other unambiguous standard. In addition, I appreciate the discussion about increasing light levels to enhance the feeling of security in commercial properties. The other comment that has come in, and again, this has come in from Mr. Alvin, and his question here and comment preceded the one he submitted tonight, but I do want to read it. To only relax the variance ordinance within the old National Overlay District and not even allow or consider building height limitations is of great detriment to the owners that have been here for more than 20 years, some even longer. This does not show cohesiveness nor equality when it comes to economic development in our city, as we do claim to be one city. I understand that each area within itself has its developmental challenges. However, removing the variance restrictions should be put in place for all districts in the entire city, not just this one. By taking this approach continues to show that this area has and will always be the area where the thing in development no other area in the city wants it, seems to find a home here. I submit to you not to move forward with this change within the old National Overlay District. The next comment is coming from John Perlman with the Adams and Company. And he says, thanks for the opportunity to comment. First of all, I want to resubmit a narrative I sent to several council persons a while ago about the Sandtown overlay. I appreciate all the thought and good work that went into the proposed changes. One thing that concerns me, though, is using the zoning code to limit the uses that are usual and customary in retail developments. As you know, entire categories of what was sold and shopping centers have been wiped out by the internet. Now centers are focusing on leasing small shop space to personal services, nail salons, barbershops, beauty parlors, etc., physical fitness, food, both dining and takeout, medical uses, and service uses such as phone stores, shipping stores. I'm concerned that the entire first category of this list is proposed to be subject to special use approval. This seems to me to be starting down a path toward needing to secure approval for all uses. I think that this is a dangerous precedent to set. I have no problem if the code wants to set out blanket prohibitions on truly objectionable uses, check cashing, pawn shops, extended stay hotels. All are things I agree we do not want in our community. However, I do not believe that nail salons, barber shops, etc. should be subject to this review. If the concern is proliferation of this group of uses, then address that with radius clauses that can be ascertained or some other unambiguous standard. In addition, I appreciate the discussion about increasing light levels to enhance the feeling of security in commercial properties. And the last comment that was submitted post our meeting is from Catherine Foster Rowell. I would like to see identification of native tree species to be included in landscaping standards. And we'll go back up and see if anything else has entered the box, and there has not. And so that is the extent of our comments thus far. And if those members of the public are listening in, please feel free to send comments to this email address. It is COSF zoning rewrite at peqatl.com. Mr. Gray, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Unmute, Mr. Reed.
I apologize. I thought after the public comment, we were going directly into the presentation of the zoning rewrite. Did I get that wrong?
No, no.
Well, then we'll go directly to that
Yeah.
presentation.
So Lee Walton, I'm the project manager for the Wood team, who's been working on the zoning rewrite. introducing myself, Anna Johnson, Paige Hatley, and of course, Inga Kennedy, who you've been hearing from so far. As far as presentation is concerned, Chairman and Commission members, our approach this evening has been to effectively rely on the public open house presentation, which is still posted and available for review on YouTube. Rather than taking another 30 minutes to go through that, we propose to entertain comments, questions, provide responses to questions to the extent we can. I would want to clarify to all watching that the Planning Commission members have had draft documents to review and comment on prior to the posting of those documents today. So the intent for that was to allow Planning Commission members to formulate questions and comments for discussion tonight. And then we will continue to, as Inga has said, solicit questions and comments leading up to council review next month. So Mr. Reed, with that, I think, would you prefer that we begin discussing the questions that Ms. Kennedy has already posed this evening, or would you rather identify Planning Commission members and their questions and comments?
That was about to be my next move, quite frankly. We can address those questions. That has the questions that have been posed through email. All we can do is, again, refer those to you for some sort of comment later on. However, I would like to go directly to the Planning Commission members because we have had time to review this, though not in the level of detail we would have wished, we would have hoped for, especially when this is the only time we have an opportunity to comment on it. So I would open it to the other commission members. Does anyone have a specific comment or question or issue that you would like to bring forward now? No one? Okay, I guess it's on me. Well, let me say this. I do appreciate the thoroughness of the document because I thought it was a very comprehensive look at modernizing something that hadn't been touched for 50 years, and it definitely needed modernization. However, in the modernization attempt, I saw too many issues, in my opinion, that were left for administrative decisions when they were not taken to decision makers who ultimately respond to voters. That may sound kind of nebulous, but there are just so many things that came up left to the discretion of the Community Development and Regulatory Affairs Director. I kept seeing that over and over and over and over again. And in some cases, I think it made sense. But in other cases, it seems as though, again, if you are going to make a decision that materially affects a variance from what the basic rules are, that it should be made, if not by the citizens, at least by people who are representative of the citizens. Now, that's a very general statement, and I realize that, but it's something I think should be looked at to make sure that when this authority is given, it's given with some thought to, does this satisfy the people or is this just satisfying an individual? Anyone else have a comment by any chance? Because I can keep reading down my list.
Harold, why don't you, Commissioner Reed, go down your list. I think we might have some duplicate comments.
Okay. The next comes relating to is Article 102.03. And it basically talks about private easements. Ooh, I can't even read my writing. Oh, private easements, comments are private agreements or legal relationships cannot be enforced by the city. And I had a question about that because currently, when agreements are reached between members of a community and a developer for how a particular project is to proceed, it's generally, if it's agreed upon, it's spread upon the minutes of the meeting so that it becomes part of the conditions of zoning. This seems to be excluding that particular practice. And I guess I don't understand why, because if it becomes part of the conditions of zoning, it is part of the quote, enforceable principles surrounding that redevelopment or that rezoning. So I don't understand why it's being separated in this document.
If I could comment on that one, Mr. Reed, I believe that it is not the case, and team, please correct me, but I believe it's not the case that this would restrict the city in the way that you're describing. This would not impact conditions placed on zoning. This is more with regards to covenants, easements, and other privately established legal agreements, which can go above and beyond city zoning agreements. And it's a general principle that the city cannot and does not govern private agreements between two parties. For example, in the case of an easement, if you have a utility company with an easement on a property, that's an agreement effectively between the utility company and the property owner, and the city's not a judge of that agreement in any case. That's the nature of issue being addressed with this language, I believe.
Okay, well, that makes sense. I can understand not getting involved in that. It just, the wording threw me when I read it. Next. Well, the same thing applies. It seems as though a little further along, and I think 105.07, there's a reference to buffers not being enforced, or that's the way I read it. Now, again, I may have misinterpreted it, but it seemed to be saying if there's a change, a variance allowed that would infringe on a buffer, then the buffer could be pushed aside for the sake of the variance. Anyway, just a thought. It was something that I didn't quite understand the way it was written.
So if I can, I believe on that one, sir, the clause in 105.07 reads, buffers in landscape areas shall be established by conditions of zoning, which shall have precedence over the district standards contained in Article 4. And that actually is language that has been in the zoning ordinance. The only thing we've modified in that section is the reference to Article 4 generally, as opposed to a specific section, because Article 4 has had several modifications with respect to buffers.
So you'll understand and again, I can only relate to my personal experience, but in the Cliftondale community where I live, the buffers are kind of, we don't mess with buffers. That's the only way I can describe it. And when I read that, it seemed as though it was saying, well, if a modification is made and the buffer has to be sacrificed, it will be. And that's something that I know community members would not be happy with, because we've gotten used to our buffers so that we're not looking at all the development that's taking place. So anyway, cool. Next, I'm going to jump all the way to 803.05. And it goes into who is notified when when a rezoning is proposed. Now the current, the rewrite continues the current practice, which is those people who are within 1/4 mile or 1,320 feet of the boundaries of the proposed rezoning. That is, to me, inadequate. And I say it's inadequate because, again, personal situation. We are in a sparsely developed area. So anything that happens affects people all around you. I would say, or I would submit that needs to be extended to at least 1/2 mile surrounding a particular development. Now, that might not be necessary in a densely populated area. However, I would think, just as a good neighbor policy, a 1/2 mile might be a better circumference to make sure all who might be affected are notified. Again, I won't say that I'm so hardcore on that I would argue the point, but I think it should be considered.
Yeah. To Commissioner Reed's point, I thought we had last year had addressed this or had conversations about it. I don't think we made any changes. This has come up a number of times, the amount of, the distance for notification.
You're right, Janine. We talked about it. We said we should do something about it, but the same standard is being carried over to the zoning rewrite, which is why I bring it up, because I don't think the standard serves the citizens of South Fulton very well.
Yeah, is this something that the staff can comment on? Why, we've talked about this before. Dana, I'm not sure if there's been a reason it was not reconsidered.
I do believe at the time, because it was in the code, we could not make adjustments. So really, this is the time that can be considered.
And this is Janai. I know that we had also talking about expanding the circumference of the area that the notifications are sent to. We also talked very specifically about making sure that whatever the major community associations, the main collective of groups that might be in those areas are also included on the list. So it's not just the residents and owners, but it's any organization that is representing that broader area, which those are the organizations that really get the information out to the homeowners a lot of times.
And Janai, to speak to that, there was wording I noticed that specifically referenced community organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of assumed that was picking that up, although again, I had not specifically spoken to anyone.
Right.
Any other comments in that regard? Okay, and again, it's the same issue, but a different article number, because this is 803.10, and it's talking about the public participation requirement. And again, it also references within a radius of a quarter mile. And again, I would like for that to be considered for a half mile. Another thing which falls under 803-10 and it's C-4. It makes reference to the fact that public participation meetings should be held within the city of South Fulton. When we addressed this at our meetings previously, we spoke about the public participation meetings being held within the community being affected, not just the city of South Fulton. Because as it's currently worded, you could have a meeting in Old National that affects the people in Cedar Grove, and you would meet the requirements. So I think it needs to be more specific in stating that the public participation meeting should be held in the community being affected by the proposed change. That's my hot list.
Those are helpful comments. Absolutely helpful comments. I think, of course, I will provide responses to all. I think some will be in the matter of clarifications. I think others, as you brought up, are topics that we'll need to discuss with staff regarding procedures and policies and approaches and consider alternatives. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. One final thing I'll mention, and again, this is based on human nature and nothing else. Yes, we have had the documents, even though they came in a little bit at a time. And for me, to do it a little bit at a time is not the best way I do things. But I also know, again, in that same vein of human nature, speaking about issues in a group will bring out more thoughts than speaking about it in an email to someone. I know nobody knew the pandemic was coming. We're trying to get this out in a timely manner so that we can get rolling, but we don't want to do it wrong. And I'm worried in our haste, with our limitations, we may do it wrong. Now, someone very aptly stated it, and I can't remember who it was with the email, but you don't get to do modifications to a zoning ordinance on a regular basis. You really can't, because once it's in place, you want it there so that there's some sort of certainty for the developers who are looking to develop in the area. I get it, but we only have one shot to get it right. And I'm concerned that, I know Rodney is thinking of something right now. Shatik was probably thinking about something. I know Janine is thinking about something. You know, this is not the best way to get that out. You know, maybe we need a Zoom meeting with just the committee members so that we can talk among ourselves and then maybe present something to you as the consultants in the city council. Now, again, I'm not trying to slow this process down because I know, you know, it's been slowed down already, but I'm concerned that we get it right. So I put that out there for the record, just so everybody hears it. And hopefully we can all be that much more cautious as we proceed. Because once it's there, it's there. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, I agree with you, Commissioner. I think the staff and the consulting firm have done a fantastic job of capturing this information, but digesting the information more important is very important at this stage, and ensuring that there's a clear understanding of how some of the changes in the language, the additions to this will affect different communities. Because I think when we got to this point of wanting to ensure that our community represents the people who live here and our desires, it is going to be important to ensure that anything that we put into this that affects the Old National area also resembles how we want it to look in the Cliftondale area and where we reside. So I think that is very important. And we're growing so fast, right? And we're growing under the guise of things that were approved by Fulton County before we even got to this point of being a city. And there are a lot of things that we're dealing with related to even some of those approvals and the traffic that comes through with trucks related to some of the things that have been built and approved within the city of South Fulton.
Oh, not to mention the fact we need to have some sort of, anyway, I'm going too far. Anybody else have any comments?
Chairman, yes, this is Shannon, and I certainly agree with you. I agree with Janine. And if we are allowed to do this Zoom, and I think that's very important, not to slow down the process, but just to make sure that we're digesting this well. I used to, they used to call us in for dinner about 5:30, and the street lights, when they came on, we had to be in by then. So we would come in and we would try to throw the food down our throats so that we could get back outside and finish the game. And they would say, slow down and eat and chew your food to make sure that your food digests. And we're looking at the street lights coming on and we're saying, man, but we got to finish this game. This is a good game. So my concern would be that we should have the Zoom, and we would ask that the staff and the consultants be available to us when we do that. And we can, schedule that pretty quickly, and an hour or so to kind of just go through this, a couple hours to go through it, and just have them there in case we have some concerns. And then I think I would be more comfortable moving forward. I've done some of my homework. The dog did eat some of it.
Well, it did. I now go to you, Dana. Is that a possibility? Or let me back up. We've heard from 3 members of the commission. Would anybody else, a member of the commission, like to chime in on this?
Yes, sir. I agree as well with everyone and everything that has been shared. I would definitely like to explore any opportunity for us to convene again. And as timely as we can do it, I will be available.
I agree also.
Janai Walters agrees also.
Shatiqua Floyd agrees also. As Mr. Reynolds stated, the cohesiveness and the fairness to our city, I think that some of the variances are a little relaxed. So I would like to ask some questions and to learn a little bit more about our documents and the articles we have here. So.
Okay, now it goes to you, Dana and Marissa. Can something like that be set up? Say a week's time? I don't know.
I just have to check legally if you're able to do this without this being a public forum.
Okay, and you're right. We do need to do that. And okay, I would ask if you could please check on that.
I'd be glad to.
Okay.
At the same time, if I know you're trying to create the cohesion, but we are available independently. If this doesn't go in your favor, we are all here for you. So please keep that in mind.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, because while I don't have a Zoom ID, I do have a free conference call ID. So if you tell us that we can at least speak together as a group and not break any laws, you know, we can go with the free. Well, actually, Microsoft is advertising that you can get their conference service free. So
I have a Zoom line, Commissioner Reed. if we find that it is possible for us to have a meeting, and we can do that as a board. And Dana, I'm sure you'll let us know.
Most definitely, yes.
Okay, Dana, if you would find out, would you send out an email blast to everyone simultaneously?
Yes,
that
sir.
way we'll all know and we can all start to coordinate when the best available time might be.
Okay, and just for planning, if this doesn't go in that favor, do you have an alternate direction you would like to go to, I guess, sort of achieve the close to the same thing?
Well, I guess what I would say is this. I don't feel comfortable calling a vote tonight. I really don't, just because I'm not getting the feeling from the other committee members that you're ready to say yay or nay, this is the way to go. Now, if we don't call a vote, would just submission of the minutes of our comments be sufficient to flow through to the city council? Because it's something they can consider and they can actually make a determination on. Because again, if I may summarize, what the committee has said in this meeting is we like what's been done, but we think parts of it need to be smoothed out. There's some rough edges that we don't feel we can put our absolute stamp of approval on. So they can at least have some idea as to what we see as some of those rough edges. Maybe it might spark them to say, hey, it's worth the additional time. I don't know. But that is our thought at this stage of the game. This is not in any way say what you put together isn't good, because I think it's very good, especially in light of what we've been operating under up to this point. But I cannot pull out the stamp and say approved at this stage of the game.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't know if that answered your question, Dana,
Yes.
but that, you know, pretty much summarizes what I'm hearing from the other committee members tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Felgen, you have any comments for us?
He's on mute. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
You to unmute.
Mute myself. Okay, here we go. I would just like to just comment on one thing, that y'all cannot have a meeting amongst each other to discuss this without having it be a public meeting.
Okay.
So however you decide to meet, with a teleconference, conference call, Zoom, that's got to be a public meeting.
It's got to be a public meeting. Okay. And we have to publicize it, what, 2 weeks in advance?
No, not for planning commission. That's a required under state law only for council public hearings. Whatever is required under our code for publication of planning commission meetings is what's required. I don't
Dana,
remember.
do you know what that is? Is it 1 week?
I don't remember currently. Dana, do you have that in front of you?
I thought when we initially do it, it's 15 days out for a public notification.
Yeah, well, here's what I would say. If you want to postpone the discussion again for a different date specifically, you can do that right now at the meeting. You can say, let's go back and discuss it again next Monday or in 2 weeks at a specific date, on June the 1st, for example. Then you don't have to republicize it because you're announcing the meeting right here in the public forum.
I have a question.
Yes, Suzanne had a question. I'm sorry.
This is Shannon Jones.
Okay.
So, excuse my ignorance, but do we have the capacity to convene that meeting publicly and then excuse ourselves into an executive session?
You can discuss the zoning ordinance in executive session. That's not an executive session discussion. You can discuss only certain things in executive session. You can discuss personnel, you can discuss real estate, you can discuss litigation, and a few other things, but not zoning ordinance.
Well, can I take a poll then? June 1st is on a Monday. Oh, June 1st, I have a meeting.
Mayor and council's meeting on June 2nd.
Okay, let's shoot that there. Okay.
Wait, so then we decided it didn't have to be 15 days?
No, if you decide to meet on a different date and you can decide on that now, you're effectively calling that meeting in public now. You don't have to re-advertise it.
Okay.
Okay, well, let me ask this. June 4th is 2 weeks from today. Does everyone's calendar allow another meeting on June 4th we have to commit among ourselves. We're going to tear this document up. No offense, please, but we're going to really go through the document in detail and have a little list like me listing the things that you have any question about so that we can go through it, attack it, and get it out of the way quickly.
This is Shannon Jones. I'm completely out of pocket on June the 4th.
Okay. June the 3rd?
I'm available either 3rd or the 4th.
I have a question. Do all of us, in order to have this meeting, all parties have to be there?
We would like to have all of the members of the Planning Commission there, or if you can submit detailed critique. I mean, that doesn't sound right. Again, I would just like to have all parties to have input. And maybe I'm being overly idealistic to say that, but generally decisions are better when more people are involved in them. And that's what I'm shooting for.
I'm available either day.
I'm available.
So can we set June the 3rd?
Yes, I'm available also either day. Janai Walters.
I'm available.
Okay, shall we set it June the 3rd? Here's a question though. Dana, will you set up that meeting for us or should we use our own? Now it has to be set up.
It would probably be best for the staff to set up the meeting just as they did this, just to make it more uniform.
Okay. Well, then June the 3rd, anyone have a preference as to time of day?
My preference is in the evening like this, but that's just me.
My preference is the evening as well.
My preference is evening.
Okay, so shall we say June the 3rd at 6 p.m.?
Yes.
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 I think that's everybody. So this is our advertisement that we will have a follow-up meeting on June the 3rd at 6 p.m. via Zoom to further discuss our recommendations to the City Council on the proposed zoning rewrite.
This is Janai again. With that, would we be able to get the public comment questions that were submitted available to us to review again?
Could you provide that for us, Inga?
I can definitely do that.
Okay,
And-
if you could
speaking
send it,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you could send them through Dana, he can forward those to all of us, and we'll be sure we all have it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we'll continue to monitor the email too for additional comments. And speaking of that, one additional comment has come in. And so let me read that if I may. And this is, my name is Michael Venable, and I am a resident of the Old National City. I am requesting that you defer any decision on the rewrite today. I, like the many residents in the area commenting, Reynolds, Collins, and the professional planning community, Macaulay, see that this policy is extremely important. If you all are not fully and completely familiar with these changes and the ordinance, I would stress you reach out to knowledgeable residents in your respective districts. Mr. Reed is addressing some of the deep weed issues, but there are plenty more. That is the additional comment that has come in, and I will get those over to Dana, Mr. Reed.
Thank you very much, Inga.
And any others that may come in.
Thank you very much. So we do have a plan of action. We have a direction that we're headed in, and I feel rather positive about that direction. Did anyone else have any additional comments you'd like to add?
Is this official vote where you would have someone second the vote? Is this an official?
Okay, we can do it that way. Can I get a motion?
Before we do that, may I ask a question to Shannon Jones? Just wanted to ask that when those comments come, if everything can come cohesively, everything can come together as opposed to various, if we can get all of the documentation again with the comments together in one central place so that we're not looking for this document or that document, everything will be together and we can move that meeting.
You know,
let's say this then, to give the public some additional time to make comments. Let's go through the weekend, and I will send those comments to by Tuesday of next week. Is that okay?
That's fair.
So that we can avoid that potential issue, Mr. Jones, of sending more than one document. And so because we've asked tonight for the public to continue submitting comments, let's let them go through this holiday weekend, and I'll get them to Dana on Tuesday, those that we have received by that time.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy.
Hi, this is Janai Walters. James, the host, would you please let Janine back in? Her line had dropped off. She's waiting to get it back into the meeting now. Thank you.
So at the same time, I want to make sure. Oh,
please?
okay.
Go
so
ahead.
I want to make sure that these are the comfortable steps that you all are taking for moving forward. I mean, everybody's comfortable going in this direction?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, can we go ahead then with that motion?
Hi, this is Janai Walters. I motion that the commission postpone further comment and review on the new zoning ordinance until a new meeting scheduled or a postponed meeting scheduled for June 3rd at 6 p.m.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second that we delay further comment until our next scheduled meeting, which will be June the 3rd at 6 p.m., also virtually via Zoom. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Who was the second? Who second?
I did.
Rodney seconded. Oh,
Rodney did.
I'm not. Shatik was seconded. I'm sorry.
Shatiqua?
Yes.
Do we actually have to do the roll call for our vote? Do you need that for the minutes?
That's what we agreed to.
Okay, well then, Marissa, would you do the roll call?
Yes, I can. Harold Reed,
Yes.
Rodney Hadley,
Yes.
Janine Brown,
Yes.
Shannon Jones,
Yes.
Janai Walters,
Yes.
Rachel Williams,
Yes.
Shatiqua Floyd,
Yes.
Tamika Weatherly.
Yes.
That passes unanimously. Again, I want to thank all of the members for participating tonight. Really appreciate your being here and giving us your thoughts. With that having been said, we've now gone to 7:03 p.m. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I motion to adjourn. Janai Walters.
A second. Shatiqua Floyd.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second that we adjourn this meeting. All those in favor, Marissa, would you take the roll?
Sorry, I was on mute. Harold Reed,
Yes.
Rodney Hadley,
Yes.
Janine Brown,
Yes.
Shannon Jones,
Yes.
Janai Walters,
Yes.
Rachel Williams,
Yes.
Shatiqua Floyd,
Yes.
Tamika Weatherly.
Yes.
Okay, that passed unanimously. Thank you all again very much. Talk to you again on the 3rd.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a
Thank
good
y'all.
night.
Have a good night.
Everyone, take